don't swear much outside of church.
Did I say outside?
That's what you said.
Plano.
Does he want the city of Plano to like go in and like get Putin?
I guess gonna solve.
Hey, welcome to Figuring It Out, episode 11. We are in the second decade of episodes.
Something like that.
Something like that, however you would say that. We're in the double digits anyway of episodes. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you are new to the podcast, my name is Joseph, and I've got my co-host Linda. And today we've got Nate and Rett, who are back for their second time on the podcast. Yep, sure. So welcome back, Nate and Rett. We're going to key in on you guys.
It's a privilege.
It is, so on the day that we're recording this podcast, it is St. Patrick's Day.
It is.
You know, a super awesome holiday for some. Some of us have forgotten about it. But obviously right here.
I'm wearing green. Joseph's
if you're not watching on
green.
YouTube, Linda is wearing the Mobile Leprechaun shirt. Represent. Talk to us about the Mobile Leprechaun real quick, Linda. For those people who aren't familiar with the Mobile, all of our South African listeners who might not know what the Mobile Leprechaun is.
This is my favorite part of St. Patrick's Day. Like, I'm like the tiniest bit Irish, whatever, but the Mobile Leprechaun is what makes this day, and it's from like early 2000s. There was something in a tree. People thought it was a leprechaun.
What it was a crackhead.
It could have been a crackhead.
Got a hold of the wrong stuff.
I didn't know if we could say crackhead on the podcast. So I was going to leave
Caleb can censor us.
But beep, but I just love everything about this video. It's like, there could be this leprechaun, and then there's a guy. It's like, who all seen the leprechaun? Say yeah. He's got these gold teeth.
And everybody's seen the leprechaun, apparently.
Everybody's seen the leprechaun. And then there's a guy who's like, it could be a shadow. And there's like, could be a crackhead.
What I love is the guy who's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a backhoe, and I'm going to uproot that tree and get the gold.
I want the gold.
I want to know where the gold at. And the guy with his leprechaun flute that's passed down from his ancestors.
Ancient Irish ancestry.
Yes, and he's got his
and you
Kevlar vest that wards off
if you're not picking up on it, if you're listening and not picking up on this, like, this is a very urban area.
Yes.
Okay, there's not one Irish person in this video.
No. Go to YouTube. Look up, after you finish this podcast, go to YouTube or pause it. I would allow that. And look up Mobile Leprechaun.
I'm going to write my senator and ask him for permission to start showing YouTube videos on the podcast.
We should. I have already.
I don't know who else I would contact about
I've written a letter to a congressman already this year, so we're like pen pals now.
Which congressman? That's sweet.
Did they answer you?
Well, no, it was just a letter of recommendation for someone.
Oh, okay. So not a we want to change this.
I mean,
we're not gonna take it.
No, it was not a strongly worded letter.
Listen, you guys you guys know about Dee Snider? Like what is it called when you like sit in front of a group of people and he was like in front of Congress. Have you not? Never mind. Okay, you meant Twisted Sister. I like rock and roll.
Dee Snider, yeah. We're not gonna take
it. A congressional hearing.
It was like a hearing, and it's Dee Snider. What
this
you,
guy in Plano.
Listen, we're finna talk about what happens in Congress anyway. Well, it wasn't Congress.
It's just Dee Snider, like
city council.
Dee Snider is a really smart guy. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
What was he arguing? What was it?
I don't know.
What was he on the floor speaking about?
I mean, I'm sure it had to do with music, and like I think it had to do with like rights and protections. It might have had to do with copyright.
If he didn't say we're not going to take it anymore, then what has it all been about?
That's a waste of time.
What has it all been about? But anyway.
But Mobile Leprechaun.
One of the best viral videos of early YouTube ever.
And so
it was a newscast.
It was.
And it became a viral sensation.
And it was fantastic. As all good newscasts do.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about early YouTube. So YouTube came on the scene where we remember. So this is the day that I end up in the YouTube rabbit hole. Because I start with Mobile Leprechaun. Then I move on to Linkin Park. Mm-hmm. And then my
not the band.
Not the band, but the
Thank you.
And then the lady who ran out of the fire. Mm-hmm. It's all good. She didn't take her shoes or nothing.
Oh my gosh.
But Carson discovered Kittens Inspired by Kittens. this week.
You guys know that one?
No.
Oh, it's a great one.
Kittens inspired.
Have you seen like Cats and Cucumbers?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, those ones are. My dad he loved those. He could sit and watch that for hours, like, just every time.
We tested that with our cat. It did not work.
No, it didn't work with mine either.
My cat was just too lazy to care.
I think it's got to like surprise him.
It was like
It's got to like really.
That cucumber's got to really sneak up on him.
Which, admittedly, if I didn't know that there was something behind me
listen,
and I turned around,
think about the
fair,
size ratio here.
Yeah, well,
and
yeah,
think
something-
about the size of a cucumber compared to a cat,
Yeah.
and they turn around and just see this thing. Okay, now picture that same cucumber inflated to the ratio of like the same ratio to a human.
Yeah.
Okay, and you turn around and see this giant green thing behind you. Like,
true,
what are you
man.
gonna do?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna jump away
I'd
too.
be scared. Yeah, I would get more.
All right, go ahead.
No, that's all.
Oh, okay.
No,
No,
but
you brought up cats and cucumbers.
Cats
Let
and
me. All right,
cucumbers.
so
but yeah,
this,
kittens inspired by kittens. It's
Most-
this little girl like reading a book, but she's like, it's just like a picture book of cats, but she's like, we are in Hawaii. And
she's just putting words to it.
Never seen that one.
It's
I've
it's
not seen
good.
it.
It's worth a minute 30.
Yeah. Well, like most of my favorite viral videos have to do with animals. The cats and cucumbers one part, like, and if they dub voices over the animals, those are gold to me.
You seen like Animal Crackers? The
How
one
animals eat
it's
their
like
food?
it's
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
which one? What? Which one?
How animals eat their food. It's not a dubbed over.
Oh
animal.
yeah,
No,
no,
it's
just like
that one is
pretending
really
to be
funny.
animal.
No, the Animal Crackers. It's like sub-Saharan Africa. So like like the all the stuff that's down there, and they've got like voices over all the. It's not even just that, but there's one. It's like a monkey, and he's being a dentist to another monkey, and like it's, I don't know. It's,
That's what I. That's
You
what I
need
love.
to watch
All
that
you're
one. Yeah.
I've probably seen them. Didn't know they were called Animal Crackers. Like I don't know the names of half the stuff I watch. But I'll say the other half. So that's half like animal videos I love, and we've talked about. We're not going to get started on animal attacks today. But
We've covered that enough
that's a
over
theme.
the past couple
That's
weeks.
been a ongoing theme here is animal attacks. But my other half of me loves newscasters that mess up. Like that kind of falls into the leprechaun category, but it's I just saw one that I'm gonna laugh even trying to describe. But Kinsley was on TikTok and this one popped up and I could hear it before I ever saw it. And it's this newscaster talking about this guy, and poor guy, he was a security officer or a police officer or something that had passed away, and she's talking about the funeral, and his name was DD something, some kind of long name, but she calls him she's dead serious trying to, how these newscasters are, and DD, and his name started with an M, but she just trailed off. She says, DD Megadoo-doo. Like, the youth pastor in me just fell apart. Like, DD Megadoo-doo. And then she goes, excuse me. And it's like Mozambique or something like that.
Yeah.
But she called him Megadoo-doo.
Have you seen the ones where it's like the teleprompter is mistyped, and
Yes.
so the dude, there's my favorite one is the dude is like, check your pennies, but it's supposed to be pantries. Those ones are or have you seen like Boom Goes the Dynamite?
Yes,
the
Boom Goes the
Indiana
Dynamite.
Pacers
Yes.
one. Oh, that
yes, Boom Goes the Dynamite, and giving them the business. Have you seen that one?
A 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, he was giving him the business.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that brings us up. So that's what I kind of wanted this podcast to be about with you guys, because you guys are sort of in the middle of all things entertainment world. For sure. I think like YouTube is just one of those avenues of just where we are just absorbing constant either entertainment or communication. Where do you guys get where do you learn about news from? Like you guys, your generation.
There's a lot of Twitter.
A lot of Twitter. I didn't think you guys were on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
I used not for news a lot, but I use Twitter for sports.
I don't
stuff.
tweet a
You're
whole
not
lot,
following
but yeah,
me
I
on
see
Twitter.
a lot of sport.
You tweet a good amount.
I tweet
not a lot.
I tweet a lot about, but it's
tweet
Are
a lot
you a
more
big
than-
tweeter?
I tweet about Auburn sports and Atlanta Hawks. Like that's just about it. Sometimes
And
I used to
Memphis,
tweet
right?
more about
Or
what?
Nashville.
Speaking of Twitter, though,
Nashville sports.
the thing that will win Twitter today,
Yeah.
we just watched it. I couldn't show it on the podcast. That's why I'm writing my senator. I just saw a tweet. Is Texas okay? Question mark. And it was apparently a comedian named Alex Stein 99. And I don't know how it started, but I know how it ended. It just drops you in the middle of his rap to the city council of Plano, Texas. And apparently,
It's bad.
I guess his point is we want Plano, Texas to take up arms and go fight Vladimir Putin. I guess.
Well, wait.
Defend the Ukraine.
Is Plano where Elon lives now?
Is it?
Is
I don't know. I'm
Tesla-
just
Where,
throwing that out
where
there.
in Texas is Elon?
Oh,
He bought a
Got it.
city.
Because-
Plano. The
because
big thing in Plano is Frito-Lay. Frito-Lay is in Plano.
I'm not
Texas.
sure what Frito-Lay or the city council of Plano is going to do.
Yeah.
well, but Elon was
Let me
going to
tell
throw
you.
hands,
Well,
so I didn't know if
Well,
he's trying
Elon-
to
did
get
y'all
them.
know-
Elon on Twitter has been very funny the last few days.
Elon has challenged Vladimir Putin to one-on-one combat.
Boxing. Was it a boxing match or MMA?
It was just he just said
It just said
combat.
combat.
1v1 combat. I don't know if Elon's bringing his Iron Man suit or what's about to happen
That'd be
here.
crazy.
But I think we talked about this in the last podcast. It's like 1 versus 1 bare knuckle brawl. I don't think Elon stands a chance. But
I don't think so either.
if
If Plano backs him,
if Plano's coming to get his
So
back,
I mean, I would
Russian.
say he wouldn't because like
Texas
Putin
justice.
is like KGB trained and like a 9th degree black belt in.
they took
They
it
took
away.
that away. They
They
took
took it
it
away.
Disgraced 9th degree black belt. But like, he's also like 69 years old and like 5'7", and Elon Musk is like 6'2" and 50.
He was in
Yeah,
the-
but Elon Musk is set behind a computer screen his whole life.
and he was in the KGB.
I mean,
And-
yeah,
and
he's still
Putin is
20
a
years.
muscle
and-
hamster. Like,
Yeah, but
And he's
7
Russian.
inches of
He's
reach is a
Russian.
lot.
He's Russian.
He is Russian. But
I'm
reach
going to
is a
go
lot.
ahead. I'm
automatic
going to
upper
go ahead
hand.
and reach as far as to say Elon Musk doesn't do a lot of things that make him uncomfortable.
Yeah. Now,
So,
if he had a gun, it would be different. He'd say combat.
Well, I'm saying
What about
like,
a flamethrower?
listen,
that'd be crazy.
listen. Elon Musk might have some kind of like laser beam situation built into like his eyes, and
true.
he just walks up to Putin and like Supermans him.
Neuralink.
yeah. Well, he's sending
microchip.
him to Jupiter.
That's what they want to do, but you got to catch him first.
You gotta catch him.
Got to catch him first, and then put him on that SpaceX, Dragon ship to Jupiter.
But there's a bounty on his head, so it makes you wonder how far he'd make it before somebody took him out.
I don't know,
Boba Fett.
but I know that if you're coming against Putin, you end up in a suitcase.
Yes.
Apparently, y'all heard about this girl. She came out against Putin, and like she's Russian, and they found her in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Wow.
But her boyfriend confessed. Now I'm using my air quotes again. Confessed to killing her and putting her in the suitcase. Said he's going to come away with about a day of jail time and a whole bunch of money. I'm
Right.
pretty sure.
Or, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's,
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Like, because
that's why they need some of this Texas justice. That's why he
Yeah.
went to Plano, Texas.
That's it. They're like, they're too far gone.
They're too far gone,
We need
Texas.
some
We
of
need
this.
help.
It's up to
Listen,
you.
if you're going to a state, there's a handful of states that like you want on your side in a war. Texas
Texas
is
is-
probably number one. I think Alabama and Tennessee.
Florida's probably number one.
No, I think
Well,
Texas
I
would
think
be number one.
you want the panhandle of Florida and leave the rest of Florida alone.
Anywhere like outside of 10 miles from the beach, I'll take. Because 10 miles to the beach is like old and rich people, but
Yeah.
everybody on the inside of Florida is like insane.
Well, they're battling gators
Florida
and
man.
pythons, man.
Yeah.
Well,
I
have you-
love also the TikToks I love right now is the guy with his flip phone that
Yes.
records all the Florida people.
Oh,
Like there's some random guy wrestling an
The
alligator, and
Coney
he comes
Island-
up and
not
he's like,
him, but that's not what he's talking about. But have you
Oh,
seen
you know what
Coney-
I'm
the
talking
Coney?
about.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Have you seen the Coney Island news?
Those ones are funny.
He'll record like crackheads from where is Coney Island, New York.
hit that
Yeah,
censor
it's
button.
Yeah.
Coney Island, and it's the,
Yeah,
the Coney Island car wash.
Yeah,
and
Coney
it's just
Island
a
car-
fire
it's just
hydrant.
crazy. It's just like crazy crackheads from Coney Island.
Who's the president, man? Who's the president?
Byron? It's those videos, the Byron videos.
Oh
You know,
no,
see,
I
those
don't know
are
the
from
Byron
months ago.
videos.
Oh.
Listen,
They're
TikTok
really
has
funny.
figured out what I like, and it just feeds me animal videos. Okay, that's
That
why
sounds
this.
about right.
That's why
Yeah.
this Florida. That's why this Florida guy shows up because it's all the time somebody like this one guy gets like DDP'd by a snake, And and he's like, "Oh, got it on my flip phone. I'm glad I got it on my flip phone."
Speaking of news, a lot of people get news from TikTok because there's a ton of like.
That's a terrible place to get news.
Yeah, but there's a ton of like news anchors and people who report on like the modern world. And they just make quick little TikToks of like today's summary. It's like CNN 10.
There's probably some relevant stuff on there, but I'm just saying, like, how do you guys decide? I feel like I'm having some deja vu. Have I asked you guys this before?
You asked. Like, I mean, I get most of my news from Twitter.
I mean.
How to what?
How do you decide what's good news and what's fake news? You know what I'm saying?
I hear it and then I'll look it up. And then I'll be like,
Wikipedia.
They lied.
Think a little bit. Have you seen the guy on TikTok that like makes up like very believable old stories?
Yes.
Like,
and then he's like, none of those were true.
Yeah, he's like Gandhi's friends found him very annoying, and so they would like.
I know. What
I love those.
The Babylon Bee type stuff.
He just makes up stories.
But it's like a very like well written,
very
like
believable
3-minute video.
And he has like these little infographic pictures of like Gandhi and people that look like.
And that's what like the Onion and Babylon Bee does it in like written form.
Yeah. It's similar to like the Onion or the Babylon Bee, but it's more than just the headline.
It's very believable. And then he's like, "That was not true," and you're like, "Wow."
What? Yeah. So now you don't believe anything this guy says.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's the boy who cried wolf. Exactly. But speaking of, like, that's, you know, we're not too far from what I really wanted to talk to you guys about today. Is like entertainment, whether it's movies, music, TV, some sort of streaming service like YouTube or TikTok, any of those kind of things. You know, those things have infiltrated our lives in such a way to where it just permeates. Like you can't separate yourself. Like that's just a daily part of life. Much like riding in a car is a daily part of life. Yeah. You almost can't go through a day without it. Even if you like were to try to turn off all screens, right? It's like you're gonna be involved with one at some point in time throughout your day. Even if you go to school or even here or a restaurant, it's going to be everywhere. But so let's talk about, we'll talk about some of the most entertaining things of the day. Mm-hmm. And I also want to just talk about how to navigate it in a way that doesn't step on the toes of faith and who we're called to be as Christians and like the standards we have to set for ourselves and things like that. Because I think it gets a little bit murky. Kayla, I wish I had you on a mic today because I think you'd have a lot to say today. But like, for instance, let's just start with like, okay, we're about to be in movie season. We're in the spring and movies are about to start coming out. I saw like, all right, so the Batman is out. Yeah. All right, Nate came to church the other day talking about the Batman and it's like 3 hours long.
It was. And I was not bored at one point. Like there was no point.
All right, can you give us a spoiler-free run of the Batman?
This better be spoiler free.
Wow. Dark, brooding, edgy. I saw the sun once in the entire movie. The sun makes an appearance once, and the one time that it's daytime.
Is it because Batman works at night?
No, it's just a dark movie, and like the one time that it is daytime, it's raining.
Is it like
and
dark?
It's a funeral.
Is it like?
Is it like dark, hard to see? Because you know how
No. It's very well.
Like the stage lighting is good. It's just it's like the mood is dark.
Oh my gosh, the lighting is actually one of the best parts of the movie.
I love Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is an awesome movie, but like how the whole movie is like really dark and like you got a straight. I don't know if any of y'all.
No, it's not like dark.
I know
like
the movie. I don't know.
Just,
I don't know that I noticed that.
Like the movie either takes place at night or like in a nightclub or something like that, where it's usually dark, but it's like, well, I mean, you can see very well. Mm-hmm. It's just not predominantly light place, but it's. Oh, there's really no way for me to say it.
And he's fighting the Riddler.
Yes, but
it's not Jim Carrey's Riddler from way back in the day.
It's like Saw. It's like Jigsaw.
It's like Saw.
Yeah,
he's based on the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah, it's very brutal, and it incorporates a lot of like modern elements into it, like to relate the bad guy to like people that we see in the world. Like it's pretty cool, and it includes the Penguin as well, but he's not like fighting him. It's just it has like other well-known characters, and it's set before Harvey Dent, so like it's before he actually is the DA and stuff.
So this is before. Is it in the same world as like Christian Bale's Dark Knight Rises and all that?
The same world?
Like yeah,
no.
like is this?
No, it's a completely separate universe.
Okay.
It's still like
that's a spoiler. I can't say. But just go watch the movie.
It's still like Batman, but like DC a few years ago like went through and kind of everything before like 2016 has been kind of like that's like pushed to the side, and it's like this is like not canon in the DCEU. The Dark Knight is its own. It's a Christopher Nolan thing. It's not like
for Iron Man.
DC. Yeah.
Okay. So those are just going to be Christopher Nolan's movies.
There's a lot of the Flash movie is coming up, right? And there's a lot of I've read some things online. Like there's a lot of theories that the Flashpoint combines multiple. Is not a spoiler. Like it combines multiple universes. So they believe that the Flashpoint, collection of movies, is going to bring together all the DC movies, like Marvel,
like what they did with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just a theory. DC probably
so
won't end up doing
you've
it.
seen all. Has everybody seen the Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
All right, have you seen it? Okay. Are you into this thing? Okay. All right. Is
I'm not
Eric
a big
into
Marvel
this
guy
thing?
either.
He'll watch them.
All right. What would be Eric's favorite movie?
Gladiator.
Good movie. There we go.
Hey, notice how fast I said that.
Totally grounded.
That's about right.
Totally grounded, not crazy movie. Yeah. All right. So as far as all right. So I'm just like, at what point do we stop doing this? Like, stop branching off and creating like the same character but a different universe for them. Like,
I don't know. I think it's hard to. I think it's kind of an easy way to get money.
Yeah,
obviously.
for real. I think it's a cash grab.
I do think it's remained very entertaining. Like redoing. There's a reason Spider-Man. There's a reason everybody loves Spider-Man. Like,
sure,
he is a character that appeals to a lot of people, especially like in the old days when it was comics. Like teenagers related to Spider-Man. He was a teenager. It wasn't like. I mean, that's why he's like Marvel's like everyone wants Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So I think to an extent you're going to see that, and then we'll see new stuff pop up. Like when Marvel reintroduced Guardians of the Galaxy, or they redid the Avengers for the movie. It wasn't the same as the comic ones.
Yeah. Well, that's what and then the comics, they're they're just doing a movie version of what the comics do, because in the comics they
But a lot of times they don't even follow the comics.
Characters come back to life, or they're just we're just going to start a new story and forget that he ever died, or whatever happens. It's just let's just bring them back. However, I will say though, Disney Plus is just catching fire with all this new stuff that they're coming out with, between the Marvel stuff and the new Star Wars stuff coming out. I'm telling you, that's the streaming service right now.
It's pretty good.
Moon Knight coming out. I'm pretty excited about Moon Knight. He's like Batman. He's like Marvel's Batman.
I am excited. Morbius is coming out, not on Disney Plus, in theaters. Oh my gosh.
You excited about Morbius?
I'm so excited about Morbius.
Now he fights Spider-Man.
It looks kind of cool.
I
like vampires.
The MCU
historically he fights Spider-Man.
The MCU hasn't had a dark hero really.
Right. Well, now they've got Moon Knight and they've got this coming out.
Oh my gosh, they're gonna make Black Adam an anti-hero, aren't they?
I don't know, but
he's a villain. But they're gonna turn him into
teaser was pretty awesome.
They did that with Venom.
But
Venom an anti-hero. But Venom was good.
But that was good. But I want Black Adam to be a villain. I just want him to destroy people.
See, I knew Caleb would have a lot of thoughts here. Caleb, are you a watcher of these movies?
No, I don't like Marvel.
I don't like. Okay.
I love DC stuff.
I don't love Marvel either.
You love DC movies? Yes. Because historically, DC movies have been less than appealing to me.
The Batman movies trump anything Marvel.
But here's the deal.
I agree with that. So you said the Dark Knight trilogy. You specifically,
but that's a Christopher Nolan thing.
But the Dark Knight
that's
trilogy is Christopher Nolan, and it's just based on a DC comic.
Oh my gosh.
Now I will say I'll watch any Christopher Nolan movie and be happy.
Oh, yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises, top 2 movie ever.
You like The Dark Knight Rises over The Dark Knight?
Is that what I meant?
I think you.
Oh my gosh! Why do they always? Why is The Dark Knight? I always think
The Dark Knight is
The Dark Knight
because you're a big Joker fan. You're like Heath Ledger Joker. You're a big.
The Dark Knight is 100% a top 10 movie. Not just I like it. It is a top 10 movie
ever.
Period.
Here's what I get tired of, guys.
Top 1.
Here's what I get tired of.
Top 1.
I'm okay if you're telling a different story. If you're showing me the same story with different actors every 5 years, I'm getting burned out. Yeah. I've lived long enough to see too many.
So, did you like The Dark Knight?
I loved it.
Okay. Compared to
The
Jack
Christopher
Nicholson
Nolan
next-
trilogy is great. I also loved all the original Batmans.
Like Jack Nicholson.
Did you like
and stuff.
you're talking about like the 1989 with
Yes.
Jack Nicholson as the
Yes.
Joker? And,
Uh-huh.
that was a really good Batman movie.
Those were really good. There's a few in there that weren't great, right? But like Batman and Robin, not great.
Honestly, it was really the first two were pretty good, and then after that, like Batman and Batman Returns were like solid, and then after that, it was kind of like.
Well, here's the deal. I think the Batman. Let's bring it back. The Batman is the first rated R one. I think. Is that?
Did it actually? Was it rated R? Or did they drop it?
I
down?
think it's rated R.
I gotta look this up.
I think they avoided the rated R.
Did they?
Yeah, I think so.
So does
Yeah, it's PG-13.
Yeah.
so
I
does
think they avoided
Deadpool
it.
hold the record for the only rated R superhero movie so far?
There's gotta be
If you call it a superhero movie, I mean, I get
I mean,
like
it is.
big
Like a
big
comedy
studio superhero movie.
Or was Venom rated R too?
Oh no,
I'm pretty sure Venom was PG-13.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
I don't think it was bad enough to be rated R.
Well, let's talk about that. Okay. So, all right, the most entertaining movies that we can think of right now are like these Marvel movies and superhero movies and things
What's
like
your
that.
favorite? What's your favorite movie of all time?
Braveheart.
You know, so
did
okay,
you say that is
interesting.
less entertaining than a Marvel movie?
I'm talking about right now. There hasn't
Okay,
been a
so-
movie like Gladiator or Braveheart in a long, long time.
That's true.
Braveheart was supposed to be based on the violence in it, NC-17, and
Yeah.
it got a masterpiece. What is it? A
I thought
masterpiece
that was
exemption.
Saving Private Ryan. Was that also
Oh.
Saving Private Ryan?
No, that was not Braveheart. That was Saving Private Ryan.
Okay. Yeah.
Wrong. I was wrong.
I was like
I was-
Braveheart. No,
I was
Saving
thinking about
Private
that
Ryan.
because
Yeah.
I knew
watched
you were the
Braveheart
right guys
other
to
day.
bring on this conversation. So, yeah, Braveheart is
gosh.
pretty violent in and of itself. So is Gladiator.
So is
So
Saving
is
Private
Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan.
Right. So
Pretty
all of those are grounded in like historical events, just exaggerated slightly. And I don't think Saving Private Ryan was that exaggerated. The story
Oh,
was
no.
fictitious, though.
Oh.
The storyline.
Such a good movie.
Braveheart is really good, but
Oh my
Braveheart
gosh.
is so historically inaccurate. I mean, it's so good.
It
but
is
it
inaccurate.
so wrong.
It is inaccurate, but it's one of the best. All right. Just that speech.
Do
at
you
Dunkirk.
like it more than the Patriot?
Yes, 100%.
See, I like it a lot.
like The
I like the
Patriot.
Patriot a lot
I like
more.
the Patriot.
Anyway, all right, going back to what I'm saying, okay. So there's an inherent risk or danger, I think, in watching some of these, even Bravehearts, Gladiators, all these movies. That I don't think Gladiator's rated R, but I know Braveheart.
I'm pretty
is.
sure Gladiator is.
Is
rated
it?
R. Yeah,
I feel like it is.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
All right, Caleb says it is, so it is.
Thank you, Caleb.
Take that as gold. Okay. A lot of these movies, whether it's a superhero movie, whether it's a historical fiction or whatever it might be, we find is like the most entertaining. Like, all right, you said the Joker Batman is like your second favorite movie or top two. What's the number one?
The Prestige.
The Prestige. Okay, that's a PG-13, I think.
What about the kind of Monte
Both
Cristo?
Christopher Nolan
They
movies,
used to
by
be.
the way. So
That's
you're a
like
big
number
Christopher
4 now.
Nolan guy, I guess.
Oh my
Have
God.
you seen
Well,
Tenet?
The Prestige is an amazing movie. I haven't seen the full. I've seen the first half of Tenet, and then I had to leave.
Well, the second half is
And
just
I
the
never
first half
finished it.
backwards.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
didn't. Yeah, it was a confusing movie.
It is until you get it, and when you get it, you got
Yeah,
it.
I
But
never
until
got
you
it,
get
'cause
it,
I
you
never-
don't
I
get
like
it.
never
every
finished it,
every
so I didn't
Christopher
get it.
Nolan movie is like
Christopher
very
Nolan is-
confusing. Like
Linda, what's
is
your
so
favorite
good.
movie?
My
If you say
favorite-
Legally Blonde, I'm gonna fall out of this
It's
chair.
not Legally Blonde. It's Apollo 13.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a good
Okay.
one.
That's my favorite.
That's a good movie. That's a great movie. I hadn't thought about that movie in a while.
It's a great movie.
Speaking of space movies, have you seen Gravity? It's several years old now. It's like 6 or 7 years old.
Is Gravity Sandra Bullock
Yes.
and George
She's
Clooney?
literally floating in
I've
the
not
abyss of
seen
space.
Gravity.
What is the one with Chris Pratt?
That's
and-
Passengers.
That's Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Chris
I think
Pratt
that's
finds
called
himself in
Passengers.
space a lot.
yeah.
Space movies that are
What is
confusing.
that one with Ryan
Inception.
Reynolds? Life.
Inception is not about space.
Not I said Inception. I meant Interstellar. We're Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said Inception.
Interstellar is an
Golly.
awesome movie, and it's another one that when you get it, but when
Yeah.
you don't,
Who
you're
did
just
who
like,
did
what?
Interstellar?
It's Christopher Nolan.
Okay,
It's,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. No, Christopher Nolan
love
like
Christopher
only
Nolan.
makes confusing movies.
Yeah.
If
But
you
they're so
sit,
good. Oh
if
my
you
gosh.
sit there and you're very confused, you're in a Christopher.
I want to
Nolan movie.
read his like book,
Or
of
you're
just
watching Fight
plot
Club.
ideas.
Yeah.
It's got to be so all over the place.
Is that a
It's
thing?
incredible. I'm sure. I mean, he's a director. He probably has like a ton of ideas written down.
But
for
it's not
plots.
a published work.
Oh no, but like I
you're
just
saying you want to
I'll
call
break into his
Christopher
house.
Nolan and be like, "Hey, can I come look over your stuff?"
Yeah, and he's gonna make me a millionaire by giving me some random idea. Like his, I don't know. I just think his movies are incredible. I love Christopher Nolan.
Tell us how you really feel.
Sorry.
Tell us how you feel.
Too real.
But all right, but to an extent, so we watch these movies and we're entertained by these movies and things like that. At what point does it start to invade our faith sphere? You know what I'm saying? That's the question I always have when I'm watching something, because I'll even watch like what shows are you guys binging right now? Any like all right, if you say Parks and Rec for the 11th time,
I don't really watch that much like network TV, so I mean it really is like Parks and Rec and like Phineas and Ferb. Like those are like my go-to shows.
Camden got really into Phineas and Ferb's Star Wars special.
That one's pretty good. I like
I always love Phineas and Ferb.
the only other thing I really like enjoy on network TV is like cooking shows. Mm-hmm. I really like Hell's
Man.
Kitchen and
my
Hotel
gosh.
Hell. And Gordon Ramsay is. I love Gordon Ramsay.
Speaking of,
I'm a big fan of cooking people, like chefs on
Cooking people.
Whoa! I should have said that like that. All right, Caleb was going to grab that clip for sure. I'm a big fan of chefs and cooking Instagrams. Like I love seeing a good plate of food.
Oh my
There's
God.
nothing like a good
Who's
plate
the
of
guy on
food.
TikTok that like throws the knife into the cutting
Nick
board?
Giovanni.
I love him.
Is he the
he's an
salt
Iron
guy?
Chef. He was an Iron. He was on
You
Iron
know who I'm
Chef.
talking about.
I do love the salt guy.
So you know Good Eats, right? Like on Food
Yeah.
Network. So Alton Brown was here like 2
You
weeks
went
ago,
to
and
a thing.
I went to it. I went to his. Oh my
Was that
gosh,
a
it was
live
amazing.
cooking show,
Yeah,
or
it was
what was
his
it?
cooking, comedy, and science show. Me and my mom went because I used to
And
watch.
science.
Yeah,
Cooking is just
he's very
science.
smart.
Yeah.
He's very like knowledgeable. Like I guess that's part of Good Eats or whatever. But I always watched Cutthroat Kitchen like the past few years until it went off air. But it was amazing. It was funny. He told like stories about his life and related it back to food and stuff. And at the end, he brought out like this huge jet powered like grill turner thing, and he put a ton of wings in there, and he created like the hottest sauce in the world, and he put it all over the wings, and it was great. And I was in the Von Braun.
Who ate the wings?
He called this guy up to try it, and then he gave the guy
audience
all
member?
the wings. Yeah, he just like randomly chose a guy.
Supposed to be the hottest wings in the world, and you're just choosing a random person?
He cried. The guy cried.
Really?
Yeah, like you could see the tears. It was funny. But I was at the very, very back of like.
Was it in the
of Von
concert hall?
Braun.
Was it
Yeah,
the
was
Mark
in
C. Smith concert hall?
Yes.
Or the? Yeah.
I was in the very back, and I could smell the like grilled smoked wings, whatever it was, from like the very. They smelled so good. It was great. It made me very hungry, but it was an awesome show. It was funny. It was. It wasn't boring or anything at all. It was great. But yeah, I love Alton Brown. That's gonna be my top one. Oh, and Robert Irvine, top 2 people on Food Network.
I like Chopped.
What are
a
you
lot.
watching right now, Lindy?
My mom.
I'm
loves
watching This Is
Lindy?
Us.
Is that still going?
Yeah, this is the last season.
Okay.
We
We were hot on that for like a season.
Yeah, I've hung in there.
Okay.
No, but it's a great show.
Was it worth hanging in there for?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Is that show with like it's a ton of different couples?
Yes, which
and it
usually
relates
I
back to
don't.
one
NBC?
story.
Yes, I usually don't like stuff like that. Like where, what's the movie that I hated? But like where it's like, okay, these people are living their lives and these people are living their lives and they intersect at some point.
Okay.
Like Valentine's Day and the
Yeah.
one they always show at Christmas. Like
it's like
I don't know.
Love Actually.
Yeah, Love Actually.
it's all very sporadic until they all meet together.
Yes, and I don't like stuff like
Yeah.
I'm usually like,
Oh,
"Bleh." But I really like This Is Us, and they're in different decades and whatever. We are watching Space Force.
Space Force.
Is that a
classic.
who's the main?
Steve
who's the-
Carell?
Yeah. Okay, I couldn't remember if. Yeah,
But
it
he's
is Steve
not-
Carell.
It's a
like,
non-office
He
Steve
is not
Carell.
Michael Scott. It's still funny, but not a very different way.
Oh, have you seen Evan
You said
Almighty?
season 2 only had like its movies. I mean, its moments.
Yes,
you know.
like season 1, hysterical. Like I'm crying, I'm laughing every episode, and this one has its moments, but overall, it's not that like
Yeah.
real funny thing.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of Netflix time.
What is
so
the book series called after the Rapture?
Left Behind.
Left Behind. That's
I like
it's
Left
like
Behind
a ton of different stories that come together.
That one,
that made me think of that. So do you like that book series? Have you read that book
I've never
series?
read that book.
Nicolas
really
Cage. We're bringing it back to Nicolas Cage again.
Yeah, the Nicolas Cage Left Behind movie is okay, but have you seen the one before Nicolas Cage? They made.
We grew up in the day of Left Behind. What are you talking about?
But I mean, there's a Left Behind movie that's not Nicolas Cage.
Yes, Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, I like that one. It's a lot more true to the. They're all like only the first book though.
Yeah. Well, no, they had these like OG ones, and I don't even know if they were Left Behind, but I'll think of the name of the one. It's insane. Okay, I'll think of it in a little bit. It's got
Is it a book?
It's a dragon versus some tanks. It's let me tell you, it's something. Caleb, can you think of it?
Dragons and tanks.
Yeah. It's based on Armageddon. I'll think of it.
Sounds
think
like
of it.
the Magic Treehouse. Like that could totally
Army
be
edition.
Yeah.
So all right, but anyway, as we entertain ourselves with this, plus we haven't even gotten into music yet, but we TV and movies and all that kind of stuff. Where we help me figure out, like, what do you guys think is like the line of like, okay, I've watched too much of this language, or this, like I've seen too much of this, violence.
Yeah.
Or, even if you start to creep into the sexual stuff, like I've seen too much of that. Like, at what point do you say that? Because some of these push the boundary, even like PG-13, like pushes the boundary of this a lot. So,
Yeah.
Sure. And I think about like, we've got kids, so we think about it a little differently. Like they're sponges that are soaking in, like they hear, like they can hear a million words a day, but if they hear one bad word, like that's the one they're going to repeat.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And like, it's like, have you ever found yourself, you've been watching something and like, then it's like, it's changing the way you're thinking or the way you're speaking, like subconsciously?
There've been a couple like TV series that I've watched where it's like I don't think they've like changed the way that I've spoken, but I've had to stop watching them because it's just like I don't swear often outside of church. I mean, I would like I swear, and I'm not like I don't love that I do it, but like
Truth.
I do. But
Truth time on figuring it out.
You keep much of your swearing in church.
But but like
he did say that, didn't he?
He did, yeah. I don't swear much outside of church.
did I say outside?
That's what you said.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't swear
I don't
like
swear
at
much
all in
inside
church.
of
I try not to.
Good
That
shit.
is, but outside of church, like I mean, y'all don't really know me outside of church significantly. So, but there are
What's
certain
Rett out there
shows.
doing?
There are certain shows that I've watched where
That's
I've
a
had to like
different Rett.
stop watching them because I'm just like. It's like every 3 seconds, it's like something else, and it's just like it doesn't like I know that that's just how some people are, but it's just very like to me, it's just like that takes away from the story. Like if there's like swearing,
It's like they're trying
every
too hard.
yeah, it just kind of. I don't think I've ever really caught it like affecting me that much, but like I can definitely like be like I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah,
I
It's just
certainly
kinda-
have. So, for our last semester of theater, we did a show called Eurydice, and in that show, I played
You were giant.
Hades. Yeah, I was Satan basically. So I was tasked
On
with
stilts.
watching Lucifer on Netflix to like get an idea of what my character would be.
Oh, you were tasked with that.
Yeah.
Was that did Tilton ask you to do that?
No, Miss Davis asked
my
me to do
gosh.
that. So it was.
You were really
honestly,
good at it.
It was
You
a
were
good
really
show.
good at it.
Oh, not our show. Sorry, Lucifer was a good. Thank you. Lucifer was a good show. I liked it, but then but obviously a show about Satan isn't going to be like the most Christian show ever. So I got through like 5 episodes, and then I found myself trying to be witty like he was, and like actually liking like the jokes that he was making. I was like, wow. I'm going to
you're
stop
like,
watching
"Oh."
this. So I stopped watching it, and I was like, that is probably not a good show to be watching. But I mean, they tried to make Satan this funny, like down to earth, like relatable guy, and I was like, this is probably not a good thing to be watching.
Yeah. We talked about this just a couple of podcasts ago. We were talking about sin, and like one of the primary ways like it infiltrates your life is you laugh at it first. Yeah. You laugh at it or find it entertaining, and then all of a sudden it's got sort of a foothold to where it's like, oh, I laughed at it, and then it's like subconsciously, it's an easy thing to integrate into your life if you find it, if it's disarming, right? If it's something that's like, oh, it's no big deal. And then all of a sudden you're in it and you didn't even realize it. And then you're like, then what happens is this is what I hear all the time. It's like once someone is involved in or they have fallen victim to a certain type of temptation, whatever it might be. A lot of times at that point, it has become comfortable and you didn't even realize you were involved with it until it's too late. And then it's like, but what harm is it really doing to me? And then it's really, you push back and you fight against anything that convicts you otherwise, right? A lot of people are like, I want you to accept me for who I am kind of thing. It's like, My truth. Yeah. Thank you, Nate. Come on with it.
I hate that saying.
Does that look? That's my soapbox.
Do you guys come up against this a lot? Do you guys come up against this a lot?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
In school, they've really relaxed on the dress code, and it's allowed for some
You've been wearing your shorty shorts.
I have. I'm sorry. It's allowed for some expression of your beliefs, and even though it may not match the dress code, principal can't be like, oh, you can't wear that, because then it's like.
I'm all like
who I am. It's like no
self-expression.
Like, what do you mean? What's written on a clothing item,
or just clothing that definitely isn't covering you the way it should be, or clothing that's like somebody will wear a flag.
This coming from the guy that in the middle of a Dante Pride concert takes his shirt off and starts waving it around.
It was really hot. It was really hot. Burning up in there. It was so hot. And also that was
Dante. I was like, but yeah, that was for God.
But yeah, no, there's
this girl,
one particular.
She wears a cape, but it's a flag. But you can't wear a cape in school, and it's a flag. But if you're like, hey, you can't wear that flag, it's like, oh, you hate what this flag stands for? It's like, no, you just can't wear that.
And it's not like the American flag. It's like something where there are people that hate what that flag stands for. And so it's like, you've got to.
But you couldn't wear an American flag.
That's why we need Plano, Texas involved.
I'm like all for self-expression.
Got to wear blue jeans and a pullover.
And I don't like. I don't like people just judging people on first sight, because I think that's harmful, and I also just think I think that's super shallow. I think some people people aren't just dressing up for you most of the time. People aren't dressing for attention. A lot of people are just dressing because it's how they like to dress. Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of that. But there's sometimes when you're putting on prosthetic elf ears every morning and teasing up your neon green hair. I wonder a little bit how much of that is self-expression. And it's that's not your truth. I think you just want people to ask you about your elf ears. And
I was talking to a friend last night. She teaches in another school district. And at one of their high schools, they have, which I'm sure I've heard it's at other high schools too. They have people who are identifying as cats and dogs.
Yeah.
But the parent...
we definitely have that.
I know you do. But this is another school. This is not your school. A parent is requesting that a litter box be put into one of the bathrooms because their child is identifying as a cat.
The parent is requesting that.
Yeah. Caleb, I need you on a microphone.
Come on, Caleb. Come on up. No. But I was just sitting there in disbelief,
no.
Oh my gosh.
We have people walk each other through the hallways.
You've got to be.
I've heard
that's got to be a rumor.
Oh my gosh.
I hope it's a rumor, but
dude,
I'm
maybe
that is otherworldly.
Should be a bigger priority.
Yeah, that's one thing about this.
Well, say that in your mic.
Maybe mental health should be a bigger priority.
That's one thing.
Episode 10 of the podcast.
One thing that bothers me about all this kind of stuff so much is, as someone who's struggled with mental health issues, I don't need someone to tell me everything that I'm thinking is right. I need someone to tell me I have a problem and that I need help.
Tell me the truth.
Oh, you should come to me more often.
If I think I'm a cat and then I need to poop in a litter box and I look like this, that is a mental health issue and you need to see a professional. And your parents need to be caring about you and not your feelings, but your I'm sorry. This is something that I have
Shapiro.
No. Hey, this is not where we were going, but hey, we're here now.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, we'll get off this topic.
Because I want to hear what you have to say.
This would be what you said a minute ago.
This would be actually part 2 of our mental health talk. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row.
Episode 10 was about mental health.
Yeah. About mental health, and it was the whole thing was about. But we're getting a different perspective than we did there.
there's somebody and they had a collar on, and then somebody else in front of them had a leash and was pulling them through the
was
hall.
at school?
Yeah. And it's like,
I've heard of
You can't do
students
that.
down on,
Feel like-
on the floor.
You can't
that's
do
a
that.
safety hazard, first
Yeah.
of all, because they were like half across the hall, and you're gonna trip across.
Listen,
you got to do
Yeah.
limbo
in
under
my
their
high
freaking
school
collar.
that I went to, you would have gotten snatched across the hall like so fast.
Oh no,
Somebody
they
would've grabbed
did.
that.
Oh my gosh, they got bullied so hard on TikTok. They made a TikTok about,
Uh-oh.
oh no, people are making fun of me, and then the comments were absolutely flooded with
But
people.
was it on the purpose of receiving that
No,
kind of?
it was not gonna. I'm gonna help you. It was. I'm gonna attack you.
I just
Well, no, but what were they doing that
it's
for the purpose of getting that type of attention? So then they could turn around and play up this victim thing.
I can't imagine they weren't. I like.
Feel like
Why
'Cause
else
that's where
do
we-
you
that's
walk
where we
someone
sort
through the
of went
hallway
last
like
week.
a dog?
Yeah.
I don't get it, man.
Y'all are talking about some extreme stuff that I
brutal.
I never encountered at y'all's age, and I'm glad to hear that y'all are just dismissing it like this is ridiculous.
no.
Like y'all aren't giving it credence. Like
Oh,
what?
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You're a dog, bro. Okay.
You're not a dog. No.
Can you be your own emotional
schizophrenia
support
medication.
peacock?
That's time out. That's going another layer deep, and I'm sure that can happen based on what we're saying is allowed right now. If you can be allowed
get
to
Ron
identify
Burgundy on the
as
mic.
an animal, if you can identify as an animal, then you can have all those rights and privileges of an
Caleb's
animal.
eyeballs are so big right now. You can fly for free and you don't have to pay rent.
Oh snap!
This is a life hack.
This is a life hack. Thank you, Caleb. All right.
Caleb is a peacock by the end of the
You're
day.
no longer allowed to talk, though. You have to. Every communication has to be a bark,
And you forfeit your rights.
and you can't use a
You can't
toilet.
vote. Yeah.
You can't eat off of a plate. So
Hey,
you can't
You
go
have
to the
eat dog
store.
food or
What's
cat
it
food
worth
or parrot food?
to get that free airline ticket?
That's a good question.
And
No,
if you
I
are
wouldn't
in-
say you only eat dog food because like plenty of people feed their dogs like table scraps and stuff like that.
Jeter
But
eats
if-
bacon every time I make
I
it.
was gonna say, if I feed
my
you
dad's
chocolate,
Are y'all Yankees
then you
fans?
die. You have to
Speaking
die.
of baseball, did you see?
No, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about it.
I'm so sad.
That's too fresh. Too fresh.
Brutal.
We'll
Okay.
talk about
How
that
many?
when he's not here.
120 million?
traded Christian. I'm sorry.
Yep. All right. So
Is
Distressed-
Nate gonna,
distressed
not Nate,
Braves
you're
fan.
Nate, you're Rett. Are
I
you
am
going to
Nate.
be the first crier on our podcast?
No, I'm a distressed Atlanta sports fan.
He is going to be our
we've had
first
a rough
crier.
week.
Check out
We've
his
had a
Twitter.
rough week. We've had a rough
We've had a
week.
good week. It's just we've lost people that we love.
Listen, that's true.
To the
That-
Dodgers.
and that's
God,
rough.
to the
That's rough.
Dodgers.
To the Dodgers.
Let's bring it back.
Sorry.
Right. Spidey Webb this back in. Joseph.
Didn't even get the money he wanted, but that's all right. All right. So, all right, bringing it back. Before you get to that extreme version of I'm a cat or I'm a dog, okay,
Yeah.
which is just a messed up view of self-identity. What part? Okay, that's a good question. At what point in that person's life did this surrounding environment of entertainment and things infiltrate them to such a way where that was their new belief? Like,
Yeah.
when did that start to happen, and how do we prevent that foothold from ever getting taken in our life to where it starts to change our identity?
I believe 90% of the people like that developed that over quarantine.
I agree. I think this is. I mean,
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
I think so many people have, because we were, essentially locked inside for 6 months and then even longer. I think a lot of people, like I was talking to Nate about this the other day, like there are 3 types of people that came out of quarantine. And I really do think it's like there are 3. There are the people that sat at home and didn't go to the gym and ate and ate and ate and got very overweight. Okay. There are the people that decided to get in the gym and came back from quarantine, and like before quarantine they were like big people and they came back and they're like yoked. And then there are the people that like kind of just like stayed the same, but they like mentally like matured a lot. Like there's
Well, a lot can happen in a year.
right. Well, right, but
my
I think
gosh.
especially a lot can happen in a year
Especially
when
at
like
y'all's
your
age,
only
like-
focus is like yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think before quarantine, like I think I matured a whole lot over that time, and I don't think it's just because it was like my junior year. Like I think, like
Very self-reflective.
it was. You could
No,
sit
it was.
and think
No,
about
it's
like
serious. It is
like
but-
you've got a lot of time to to make yourself a better person if you choose to. And I think a lot of people did that, and then a lot of people just kind of
went the other way.
Did that, and a lot of people sat inside on their phone on TikTok and listened to people tell them you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Focus on yourself, do what you like, do what you love, be different than everyone else. And they took that to heart, and they're like, when I go back into the real world, I'm gonna be different. They're like, I want people to see how I've changed, and not in a good way. Like people want to be different, right? I mean, like you don't want to be like everyone else, and some people. Like when you just sit inside and you're being fed media the entire day for months on end, especially through.
So at what point though is that your responsibility to decipher what media you are exposed to?
Well, I mean,
that's where we're going.
If you're not a religious person, then you don't have as much of a barrier. Like, oh wow, I need to regulate this, as opposed to somebody.
If you don't have the Holy Spirit, sort of. But like, let's talk about. So we're figuring it out as from the point of view of people who are believers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let's just think through like, okay, we can talk about the extreme cases for those who have no identity because they don't have Christ, right? But like for those of us, it's still a danger for those who are in Christ. So where are the red flags for us as believers that we need to say, okay, hold up, time out, pump the brakes on like,
I think it's
where
when
do you
when
start
stop,
deciphering that?
When you stop making time to read your Bible or to pray, or I think the big one is when you stop making time to go to church. Like, of course, we couldn't do that over quarantine, and we were watching it, and there's still a lot of people that are watching church from home, and like do
you think they really are?
I think a lot of people are. So like I know, like for instance, like my sister, she's especially like since COVID. Has developed like a lot of anxiety with crowds, and she's a member of Highlands down in Auburn, and she watches just about every Sunday, but she doesn't go. And I think you're losing so much when you're not there and experiencing church and being around other people. And I just think like watching church in bed during COVID when it was your only option, I think it was awesome. Like the fact that all these churches like were streaming their stuff was great, but like now like. You got to get back out into the real world and like be filled by the Holy Spirit, like in person and with the help of, your friends in the congregation. Like
the Lord envisioned church and the gathering of believers for a purpose, because that community is healthy in a way that consumption of a screen is not, right? Like if you're just watching it online day in and day out, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. Like if that's what you have to do sometimes, like, I mean, I listen to podcasts of preachers all the time that I'm not going to their churches, but I'm here. I mean, that's fine. But I'm a part of this community where like we're talking about our faith. Even this right here is a part of that community that you don't get if you're just consuming from a screen, and it just becomes one more thing that you're consuming. And if your whole faith is based on what you're seeing and consuming on a one-way kind of direction, what prevents church from just being one out of the million other things that form your identity, otherwise? You know what I'm saying? I think it's a dangerous game we're playing.
Yeah, definitely.
Caleb's got thoughts on that, but he doesn't have a microphone.
I had a thought on it, but I lost it. Oh my gosh, what was it?
Now, there are churches that are creating these immersive virtual environments where they're creating online community, and it looks a little different. And the jury's still out on that, isn't it, Caleb? Like, we're not real sure what that looks like yet. But like, there's some major churches with major resources that are putting a lot into this metaverse stuff. Yeah. I don't get it.
Oculus, right?
Wow.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Per se, because I don't feel like
just get in your car and
listen. I've played video games like my whole life. I was raised up on Nintendo, and everything about online formats of anything just harken back to me. It's like it's all fake. It's all a game. Faith is not a game. There's real consequences to your belief.
Something you can't get when you don't come in person. Like even if you can watch a sermon, like I get way more at a small group, and I'm much of that is like due to like I have really good small group leaders, and I have like the whole time that I've been at this church, but I get way more out of small group than I get out of the sermon. And that's not to say like the sermon is bad at all. Like I'm getting stuff out of there, but the back necessary. And forth and not just getting like the way that I learn, like I like to be lectured to and just like told like this is how things are. but I also like a small group environment and having those people that you're close to that you can really relate to and that you can ask questions, like that is huge. And when I was able to, when COVID kind of started dying down, we church opened back up, like that was something that I was missing so much. And I'm glad that we got that back. Like,
yeah. And what are you going to say, Nate?
Oh, I was going to say, you can say that. I'll say it after this. It was going back to your original question.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go back to it. Because all I was just going to reiterate was like, there's importance for both. There's a definite importance for what the pastor does and how he preaches and how he lays out the gospel like he does in a mass way. But we always say that life change really happens in small groups more than it does in the rows in the church.
Definitely.
So,
I was going to say, you asked earlier, like, how do we know when we're being infiltrated by other media or something, other messages, and we know that we're straying from God? It's like a question that it's really easy to ask yourself about something you're hearing is, did God really say so-and-so? Like, even if it's not exactly in that format, it's like,
spoken like a true devil.
Did God mean it like that? Or like, even if you're asking that, then what you're wondering about is probably wrong. Because the Bible is very cut and clear about most things that would concern that question.
That is the original question, remember?
Yeah.
Did God really say?
And God uses that, or Satan uses that so much because it's so easy to say, well,
you would know.
God wouldn't mind. He didn't really mean it like blah.
He's not catching any of these jokes.
What did you say? Sorry.
He said you would know.
I said you would know what Satan would say.
Good one. That's funny. But yeah, that's just, when you catch yourself saying that, you're like, wow, I've strayed. And that's a really telltale sign that you need to get back into the Word.
That's good. That's good. I will say this. Sorry about the jokes about you being Satan.
It's okay.
You only play.
Oh,
now he got it.
I thought you meant, okay, sorry. I thought you meant like Satan.
I thought you were going
to me.
another. Yeah,
I thought you just meant like Satan speaks to me. But
that's what I was thinking the whole time.
No, I'm not trying to go dark like that.
Oh, I get it. That's funny.
Did God really say?
Because I played Hades. Yeah.
Here's what I think is super dangerous for you guys and like your generation, right? Or just high school and middle school students in general. All right, so let's just, if we're being real. So I've heard about, so I'm not speaking from, I don't know anything about what I'm about to talk about, okay?
Okay.
All right, but I do know, like, okay, let me just start with a clean example, okay? I remember how we were affected by shows like, and they were Disney shows like Boy Meets World, things like that portrayed high schoolers doing high school things, but they were all super clean back in the day because like TV couldn't get away from anything. Yeah. All right.
Even, like mid 2000s Disney XD shows. Yeah.
Sure. I wasn't into those, but
I was.
that was when you were coming up.
Yeah, and they were clean.
All right. So, but I mean, we had Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World, and everything was just real clean. Like the worst thing that happened on Saved by the Bell was what's her name got addicted to like caffeine pills or something like that.
Yeah. and when somebody was doing something maybe not as clean, it was very clear like,
this is bad.
They're having an intervention
and
about
all the
it.
friend group came to their aid.
Yes.
You know? It was always like that. But you guys have some shows that like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Euphoria.
that was weighted.
Oh,
that's one. That's
my
one.
gosh, yes.
I've heard about this show.
People such an. First off, I just want to say, like,
gosh.
as someone who hasn't really watched much of it because I don't care to watch any of it because I think it's trash media.
Ooh.
Like, it is just.
Here we go.
It's socially acceptable porn.
Yeah, it's
like,
it's.
but also,
So
like,
wait, I missed that. What did you say?
It is socially acceptable porn.
Okay.
Like,
but the other thing
That's
is,
not where I thought I was
is
going with this
it is
conversation.
giving people
Mind.
such an unrealistic like idea of what high school is.
That's what I'm talking about. That's not the only show out there like that, but I've heard a lot about this show because what's her name? Spider-Man's girlfriend. Yeah. She's like been like apparently like won some awards or something, or nominated or something like that.
An unnamed amount of money to get that show canceled forever.
Golly, Nate.
I just think it's terrible for people. Like I think like Disney like has had some shows that are like not great for kids development because I think like I grew up watching Good Luck Charlie and I think I love Good Luck Charlie. And I think Good Luck Charlie is like a horrible example of how a family should operate.
Okay,
it's a very enjoyable show. Sure. I think a lot of TV is like that. I mean, it's entertaining, but like I don't think that was like harmful. Yeah. I think there are shows out now, and I think especially Euphoria are just it's harmful because it gives first off there are like 13-year-olds watching this show about a bunch of high school kids played by actors in their mid-20s,
Right.
who are doing drugs and having sex and a whole bunch of things that are
On
just
regularity,
with,
right?
yes,
What I read was like, this is on regularity.
with
like
regularity,
older
and with
men,
like
it'll be like a
groups of-
16-year-old girl and like a 40-year-old guy, and
it is
Yeah.
just
This is going beyond what I knew about the show.
Yeah.
you don't want to know about the show.
All right, but I'm saying, like, how much of that is affecting how much is that is creating a lens by which lots of teenagers are looking through, like, this is an acceptable way to do high
I
school.
think a lot of people would
Is
A
that
lot of people
happening?
are like, "Oh, this is an average LA high school," which
Is
no, it isn't.
the show portraying what's already happening in high school, or is
No.
it informing
I
what
mean,
people
they're
are
portraying
supposed to do
what
in
they
high school?
want
the
people
show
to
is
do in
the
high
show
school.
is
That's what I'm
portraying like there are parts of high school and there are people in high school that are certainly like that. But I think people are missing the fact, like, it is entertainment. Like,
Yeah.
this is not in the same like it's
This is
not
not a
happening
life
all
lesson.
the
Do not
time.
follow
It's
this.
not- we've talked a lot about
and
that.
and
so
Cuties. Do you remember when that was on Netflix?
I never watched
The
it,
show
but-
about like 5-year-olds promiscuous
Yes,
dancing.
that was
and
a
stuff?
big,
Oh,
and they
my-
got like hammered for that show.
yeah, and they should have. Oh my gosh,
Do you
that
think
director deserves to be in like jail.
That's what I heard. It was like bad.
That's what I
bad.
believe. Yeah.
Do you think
I
some
know.
of this can be so outlandish that like it kind of lessens? It makes other things look
Yeah,
not as bad.
for sure.
Be
Yeah,
like,
I think it-
okay,
for sure.
well, if I only do drugs on the weekends,
It's like,
like
whew,
not in English
at least I'm
class.
not watching Euphoria. It's like something that's still just as bad. I mean, I don't have any examples. Like, at least I'm not doing what they're doing. But
I
you're
would
still
say we
doing-
haven't even, and this
that.
is a whole. We don't even have time to go into this. But you said the word socially acceptable porn. One of y'all said that.
Both of us. He said it first. That's a very commonly used phrase.
So there's
to
a ton
describe
of
the show.
nudity in this show, is what you're saying. That's what I kind of heard.
I haven't watched it, but
and also just like portrayals of sex. Like,
Okay.
I heard within like the first 10 minutes, or maybe just the first episode, there were like 6 or 7 different shots of naked bodies within like the first episode, maybe first 30 minutes. I don't remember what it was.
Jeez. All right. So here's the deal,
And again,
though.
they're portrayed as high schoolers.
Is I'm gonna ask this question, and it's a can of worms, and we don't have time to really go into it. But we're talking about media and things you're like watching. Is porn really all that socially unacceptable these days?
There's been a big movement against it recently, but it is definitely.
it's
socially
still like
acceptable.
it is. It's I wouldn't say it's
By
like
most people.
necessarily frowned upon, but I do think like people like people like do it in like people watch porn in secret. People.
So
like,
you're saying people are still pretty ashamed of it?
like
Yeah.
I mean, they should be,
I think
but-
a lot of people definitely like talk about it, but I think
think-
it's still like it's a very like secretive part of a lot of people's lives.
Yeah,
and I think
for sure.
like. And then those same people are going and watching Euphoria like as a group on like Monday night, like
Yeah.
just 16.
or
of
they're
them.
going to church on Sunday the next day.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, it infects a lot of people. It's very infectious. It
Right.
affects a lot of people. A lot of middle schoolers. Like back when when we were in middle school, it was like that was like the main thing. Was like that's what everyone discovered, and it was like huge thing for
everybody
guys
got
to
their
talk about and
phones.
stuff. Yeah, because they're like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then when you get to high school, you talk about it less, but people still do it just as much.
Yeah.
They just don't talk about it because like you're older and you're like, oh, that was so middle school. Or
But then the
whatever.
scary part is like even one step further, like once you get to high school, like you guys get a little bit of freedom in your dating life and all that kind of stuff, and people start acting on what they're like they've
What
been
they
seeing
see.
for a couple years. So and that's a whole different podcast. Maybe y'all can talk about that on the one where I'm not here.
Sure, that sounds like a great idea.
Oh, I have. We have a lot to say about that. I'm sure. Gosh,
Well, I
I
can't
mean,
wait.
being in high school, like you're around stuff like that a lot. And when you get a car, it's over for a lot of people.
It's over.
a
That's
lot of
the
people.
end.
Yeah, that seals their fate.
Yeah, so we can't even get, but like it worries me sometimes about like certain, like there was a certain show that I was watching that I was like, it was funny for a while, and then I was like, this is just a little too much, and I was like turning it off. I'm like, I'm out on it. It was this like parody show about the church, and I was like, some guy recommended to me, he's like, hey, I know someone who was involved with like, and it was a show that was like about what's the word
Mega churches?
not mega churches per se, like super like televangelist type.
Yeah.
You know the show I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Righteous Gemstones is the one, and like somebody recommended it to me, and they were like, hey, watch this show. And I was like, oh, this is, I could see the spoof stuff. And I was like, oh, they nailed us on that one or whatever. And it's like some of the cliche church stuff. And it's like, it's kind of funny to laugh at yourself sometimes. But then it got so off the rails. I was like, all right, I'm out on it now. Yeah. But it was like, I could feel that point coming to where I was like, not that it was changing me, but I was just like, it didn't feel good in my spirit. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. But I'm just worried that a lot of us are getting so callous to that conviction that it's just because there's so much media. We were talking to Caroline on the last podcast, and she was just talking about just the bombardment of voices coming at you guys. Sure. Where it starts to be like there's so much that it's like it's hard to hear from God. So
it's hard to discern what he's saying versus what other people
back in the day, there was a band called Lifehouse. I guess they're still around. But they had a song that said that, so many voices and, which one's right and which one's wrong. And yours is most likely to be misunderstood. And he's talking about the Lord. And I think that's more true today than it was when he sang those, that 20 years ago.
Right.
So it's just it's something to be aware of, I think, constantly.
For sure.
So as we figure out how to like deal with entertainment and like how to intersect our faith, because it's like I'm not that type of guy. You guys know me as I've been y'all's pastor for a while now. You should know me. Like I'm not that guy that's like, if it's not G-rated, cut it out. Like, cut it out of your life. Like, I'm just saying, exercise responsibility.
I think it takes a certain level of like. I really like horror movies, right? And I think that is one thing that I think
which is a sketchy area too.
It is. I think a lot of people in the church have an opinion on that. I think it just takes a certain level of maturity to like separate. Like, I enjoy horror movies because they just like. They scare me, and I think it's like fun to be scared. But I don't enjoy them because like I'm like
satanic.
Yeah, like like so, and I also like the more like kind of I like the demon based ones because it scares me because like that's like real like. Yeah. Like Insidious, I find particularly.
I don't like
I'm out on a demon movie.
Like I find like Insidious particularly interesting because of the like everything
sinister.
Yeah, all the ones that are like kind of like haunting.
That's a good
like
movie,
I find it very interesting, but I also can like separate like it's not like changing who I am, and I'm not watching it because like.
It's not asking.
I want to like do that.
It hasn't started. You haven't started dabbling in the occult or anything like that.
No, I just like being scared. I think it's fun to watch horror movies.
Another area of shows that I like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Come on!
I like those. They're interesting, but I know they're so bad. They're so against what we're supposed to be
Love
doing.
Island?
I've never watched Love Island. I don't know.
Listen,
but I know
I can't. We don't have time,
it's
Nate.
So
why did you do
Cut
this?
the video, Caleb.
But you have to realize like even though this may be it's entertainment. It's not what you're supposed to be doing. Like even though this may be entertaining, it's drama, blah blah blah. It's not right. It's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Listen,
right? I think you have to separate what's happening.
And Bachelorette are hands down creating the worst culture of dating and courtship there has ever been in the history of the world.
I agree.
That's why you have to be mature enough to like. I think you can enjoy that as media and also separate it from like. I enjoy this as media because these people are idiots and it's funny.
So stupid.
Like it's I think it's the same. Like I think there are like good people that watch like Keeping Up with the Kardashians because they're just or like Jersey Shore because there's just a bunch of like idiots and it's funny.
I've kept up with all the Kardashians for a very long time.
I think a lot of those people are like mature enough to like separate like. I don't want to like act like that.
Yeah.
It's just really funny.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just entertaining.
If you are if you're mature enough watching this, you understand that this is a caricature of real life, right? This is not real life. There's so many people that can't though. There's so many people that don't discern
and that's where I think
where the danger is.
That's
why you guys are on this side of the mic and everybody else is on the other side of the mic.
That's where I think like parents have to come in and protect kids
100%, man.
Yeah. And then there's a point where you have to protect yourself. And if you know like you don't have the maturity to watch a show and then not like be affected by it, you got to be like you have to then have the maturity to like stop watching it or surround yourself with people that are going to be like, dog, you are dating like a dude off The Bachelorette. Like
90% of the
You're
time,
becoming the worst dude I've ever met. Please stop.
90% of the time when you like something, you'll try and make it a part of your personality because you're like, oh, I like
That's
this.
what
I
I'm
want it to be
saying.
a part of my
You
life.
know.
And you can't do that.
You start to integrate it, at least at some level.
It's just natural. I mean, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to discern, like, I need to integrate this into my life. And this is just fun to watch sometimes.
Because here's the deal. Church and your small groups and stuff, unless you are actively involved with one another throughout the week, and it's always that same level of positive accountability and positive friendships, unless you have that, you're hearing from the word probably 2 hours a week at best. How many more hours is all of this coming in? You know what I mean? It's just like there's an imbalance. Lots of people can't handle it. And so that's why your pastor tells you, get in the word daily. Surround yourself with a good group of friends that want the best for you.
Is that 186 hours out of 188 that you're not in the word?
Yeah, I mean, could be.
Something like that. We'll say it's 186.
I'm just saying, like, you know, that's the problem a little bit with the stay-at-home church people, because I tend to believe.
166.
We get the stats, all right? Caleb, tell us the stats. How many people on? How long is the average watch time on our live stream? 12 minutes. That's an hour of church, but people are tuning in for like 12 minutes. That's not. There's just an imbalance. So
I mean, 2 hours out of 168. That's less than 1% of your week. It's
less than 2%.
Less than 2%. Sorry. Because it's 2, not 1. That is.
But I think Rett
such a
said something
minuscule
really
amount.
key is like, if you're going to be open to watching or listening to just whatever out in the entertainment world, you have to make sure that you are dedicated in your daily time with the word and daily time in prayer, things like that. It's like you've got to up that percentage, or else you're just going to be overwhelmed with the secular stuff. And I gotta say, you gotta know, and this is what I tell people all the time, is like, if you know your tendency to sin, like if like it doesn't take much, you're around the wrong crowd and all of a sudden you start spouting off all kind of junk out of your mouth, right? Then don't watch shows with a lot of foul language, because that's just gonna trigger a lot of those temptations. Same thing if like you struggle with lust, don't watch. I would say, based on what you guys said, don't watch Euphoria at all. But I would say, don't watch shows that are going to show sexual things, much less nudity or anything like that, because that's going to like spiral you downhill.
Open up a door,
So don't open the door that God is trying to shut.
For sure.
What else would you guys say? What advice do you guys have for students that are like, it's changing the way they're viewing the world, like the entertainment stuff, like the dogs and cats of our world?
I mean, like we said, you need to be able to discern between things that are entertaining and things that are helpful in your life. Like you just can't make everything a part of yourself. You can't, because I mean, first of all, you can't anyways. It's just impossible to try and incorporate everything you see into who you are. But you can't also spiritually, because it will destroy you.
Well, and I think kind of going back to like the dogs and cats thing, I think a lot of that is caused because no one in their circle, whether it's their parents or their friends or anyone, is saying no. And I think
that's a good point.
You have to have
Enablers.
friends.
You need some
Like
disablers in your
a
life.
real friend when you're doing something that is
Stupid.
bad,
Let's just say
is
stupid.
gonna step in and say like, dog, like stop.
Wait. Maybe not say dog, right?
I mean, that's what I would
be
do.
like, exactly. You get it.
Yeah.
Like,
You see the real me.
you're gonna
Bad boy.
like you just
I can't. It's so outrageous.
But no, I mean, I think you got to surround yourself with people that are gonna call you out on your BS.
100%.
Like, because we all have it. We all are gonna do dumb stuff, and or say dumb things, or be dumb people from time to time, and you got to have friends around you that are gonna tell you to shut up or tell you to like grow up. Like there's a lot of things that I think people just need, and
They're
like,
not real friends unless they do that.
Right.
I mean, like, if
And
you're
I
surrounding
think so
yourself
many
with-
people are just are soft and think like, if you say no, you're not my friend, and like that's
let me be who
you're
I
just
am. No.
becoming a worse version of yourself.
You just want to surround yourself with the yes men at that point, which is not helpful to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a little bit what the
Like
media
Elvis
has
the
taught
last
you
2
to
years of
do.
his life.
Is like, get yourself in the right community is how we say it, right? The right community, and they're going to support your
like-minded people
problem. Yeah,
feed each other back and forth.
Which the community that thrives. I was talking to somebody just about this the other day because they had found themselves. They'd sort of left the church a little bit, and I was talking to them, and they're like, "Well, I found this community of people that I love, and the mountain people. It's like the people that like hiking and all this kind of stuff. Like those, that's like their lifestyle,
bar people.
right?
Yeah, granola people.
Yeah, the granola people. Like they had found their people, right? And I was like, that's great that you found some people, because I knew there was some trauma that happened in the church situation they were in, and I was like, that's great that you found your people, but you've got to find some people that like that. Those relationships are Christ centered, because if they're not Christ centered, then they're not going to fully, they're not going to allow you to thrive like God wants you to thrive. Yeah.
Well, and I think like in the same way, they say like the number one cause of non-Christians is Christians, like Christians. I think you need to find a way to like call people out and say no in a godly way. Like it can't just be like, what you're doing is wrong, so I'm going to yell at you and berate you and like.
Yeah, it needs to be loving and truth and love. Is what we're
you
taught.
need to redirect, and I think that does that. I think that pushes people out a lot. Is people having good intentions? I don't think it's just people like that want to be mean. It's people trying to help someone and just not knowing like the right way to do it. I think. I think. I don't know. I think we're just missing a lot of that in today's society. Is like no, but like in a good way.
Yeah, that was like these past few Wednesdays have been about forming connections, not like romantic relationships, but just good friendships. Yeah. And that's why I've always said, and like I think in every message we've done so far is like that very thing is like you've got to figure out how to be able to talk to each other about things that matter. So that's all hugely important. This has been good conversation.
It has been.
For sure.
It's been good conversation. I knew Nate and Rett won't disappoint. And when they wanted back on here, I was like, let's do it. So it might be some staples of the podcast here, regular guests.
Oh. Well, we'll be here when you want.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I think so.
Take over for you.
Yeah. So we got a couple of weeks coming up where like we've got some schedule issues, so Nate and Rett might be taking my place one week, and we'll see what happens. But thank you everybody for joining us on Figuring It Out. This has been Nate and Rett, and I'm Joseph, and this is Linda. Remember to always, if you want to keep this podcast going, if you enjoy listening, if you're getting something out of it, you've got to listen to it, you got to like it, you got to share it, so that we can continue to do it. But until then, till next time, we'll see you on Figuring It Out.
Yes.
Boom.
Goodbye.
Remember to turn on notifications. Go into your settings.
The bell.
There you go. Hit the bell at the top.